The story begins with the main character stood on the street near the large building and spoke on the phone. The partner told Chenya that he would not quarrel with his father and return more. The partner promised the guy that when he would return, he would receive $1 billion from family property. Chen prepared to turn off the connection on the phone. The guy sighed sadly and looked aside. He said that property for $1 billion would not interest his father. The main character thoughtfully went to the side. He remembered that his father had warned before his death that he would not reveal his personality for 3 years. He could also not reveal his real abilities. Now he has the opportunity to return his status back. The guy walked along the corridor of the hospital. One of the nurses said that the master of the Bai family was returning. The guy has easy work. He just must import and pick up Bai Shui from work. The girl quickly ran along the corridor. She urgently needed to find a doctor. She shouted so that Bai Shui would quickly come to the operating room. The patient lost a lot of blood. Chen ran along the corridor with all his strength. Around him were dissatisfied patients and nurses. The guy thought it was very suspicious that this time Bai Shui would have to come to the operating room. The main character ran to the glass doors. He noticed that Yao was standing outside the operating room. A doctor named Bai Shishan was the head of the surgical department of the family hospital. He shouted to the young doctor that he made a mistake in a simple operation. It was necessary to stop the thickening of the blood vessels. Now he himself cannot save the patient. A surgeon named Yao answered the man that he called Bai Shui, and she would take guilty if something happens. The doctors were surprised when they saw the protagonist. Chen wanted to enable doctor's audio recording from the phone. The guy viciously said that the head and the doctor makes the assistant take the blame for himself for other people's mistakes. Chen held the phone in his hands. He demanded that the doctor let him in. He threatened to show the audio recording to the patient's family and spread it throughout the city. Yao was very angry. He shouted to the main character that he would force his whole family to suffer. After a small pause, Shai told the main character that he would launch him inside. In return, he demanded to remove the record from the phone. The main character went to the ward. He told the surprised man that he did not write anything. The son was unhappy due to the fact that his father allowed the main character to go to the operating room. Shi answered the doctor that they would then be able to throw off the guilt on the chain after the death of the patient. Chen put on medical clothes in the operating room. Doctors tried to save the patient. One of the doctors said that Shu could understand everything herself. The nurse shouted angrily for the protagonist to get out of the operating room. The doctor viciously said that Sue herself does not have abilities and brought her useless husband here. The nurse near the operating table told the guy to leave and would not intervene in a mess. Chen calmly came up and told the girl that he came here to help her. The nurse told the guy that she tried to save the patient, but only a miracle could help him. She once again asked the main character to leave. She did not want to load him. The main character held a needle in his hands and stood near the operating table. He told the nurse that he himself is a miracle. The tired girl took off her medical clothes and left the operating room. She pointed out an evil hand to the girl and shouted that she did not listen to orders and uses improper medicine. He accused her of death. The police stood nearby. Zhue looked displeased at the doctor and said that he was this person. An evil hooligan ran up from the side. He accused the doctors of the death of his sister and promised that they would all pay. The nurse tried to stop him. With a scared voice, he turned to the boss Chazan and pointed his hand to the girl. He said that it was she who was to blame for everything. At this time, the main character took the patient from the ward and said that she was in order. The frightened bully ran to the bed and asked what condition his younger sister is in. The main character explained to his partner that the operation was successful. Shar told the client that during the operation, due to the actions of the Sioux, his sister lost a lot of blood. The consequences could be terrifying. To himself, the man thought that he could not afford to take all the glory to himself. The girl shouted angrily that this cousin caused bleeding, and she came to his aid. The head of the hospital, Lady Bai, entered the room. She asked the doctors, "Why are they screaming like that?" She ran to her grandmother. She told her that the main character helped to save the patient. Chen remembered that his grandmother did not like him. The lady came up and asked the protagonist, was he in the operating room? Chen replied that he was. The lady swung and hit the protagonist on the face. She was unhappy due to the fact that he dared to enter the operating room and accused the guy that he wanted to destroy the Bai family. Grandma pointed her hand to the frightened girl and demanded that she apologize to the cousin. Shui was removed from work. She was sent home to think about mistakes. The main character looked angry at his grandmother. The girl dutifully replied that she would do everything. Yue was modestly bowed and asked for forgiveness from Kuzen. Behind her stood a surprised protagonist. Yao viciously glanced at the girl and said that he forgives her. He demanded that Sue be more careful next time. Grandmother apologized to boss Chazan. She promised to transfer his sister to the VIP ward. Shui was very upset. The main character suddenly shouted from behind the doctors that he had endured contempt and ridicule for 3 years. Chen angrily told the doctors that no one dares to hurt his girlfriend. He waits for the doctors to come to her for apologies. At home, the main character, the woman, viciously demanded that he divorce the girl. Yun pointed her hand to the guy and shouted that he had lived at the expense of a woman for 3 years. And now because of him, Sue had lost his job. She demanded that Chen leave the house as soon as possible. Sue told her mother that she was not going to get divorced. Yun was very angry and called the girl a fool. The father of Shi looked out of the kitchen and demanded that his daughter go and help him wash the vegetables. At this time, the main character approached the door. Mother strictly demanded from her daughter to develop and return to the hospital. She in the kitchen cooked food, he told the main character, so that he would not take the words of his mother. Chen washed vegetables. He answered the man not to worry. The main character viciously said that he would surely repay doctors for what they did for the girl. Shizan was very unhappy. He asked why a rash appeared on his sister's body. The doctor scaredly shouted that the patient had a fever. Yao checked the patient's reaction to light. He scaredly demanded that his father immediately call. The guest angrily asked what happened to his sister. The doctor in fright convinced the guest that he had everything under control. Chazan angrily asked the medic, why did red spots appear on his sister? Chazan grabbed the medic by his clothes and shouted that he would kill his whole family if something would happen to his sister. Yao scaredly promised the client that now they would consult with experts. Shai in the boss's office turned and asked with surprise from the nurse, how could heat and rash be possible? The nurse told the doctor that the patient's family creates problems. She asked him to go and check. Shu answered, scared that he had not seen any strange symptoms before that. Grandmother became near the table and demanded that the man immediately invite the deputy director of the People's Hospital Dijing personally. Shu answered the boss that he would go right now. The girl lay unconscious on the bed. The doctor approached her and measured her pulse with his hand. A crowd of people stood near the bed. The nurse stuck a document to Dr. Kani. It had medical records of the patient. Han read the records and said in a displeased voice that it was impossible to use such treatment for anesthesia. Yao told the colleague with an exciting voice that Sue used the wrong treatment method. Han looked at the girl and said that she had an allergic shock. He showed himself in the form of a rash. Due to the treatment method, the girl had severe bleeding. The doctor was surprised how she survived. The doctor carefully looked at the girl's leg. She had holes from the needles. Chazan with excitement asked the doctor to conduct the operation and cure his sister. Han turned around and said that the girl survived only because someone used acupuncture on her. It was necessary to carry out an acupuncture again and the patient will be saved. The boss grabbed the doctor's hands and demanded that he once again use his divine forces. A scared voice replied that the acupuncture should be asked from Sue. Chazan reminded the man that he was saving his sister. The doctor promised in a frightened voice that he would call the girl right away. There was a phone call. The protagonist picked up the phone. Shu demanded that the guy immediately come to the hospital for 10 minutes. He threatened the consequences. The main character calmly demanded from a man that everyone who humiliated her apologizes to the girl. He also demanded that Sue be raised to the attending physician and increased 5 times the salary. Shar angrily shouted to the guy on the phone that he was giving a chance to the girl to return. The doctor was angry at the telephone. Chen calmly answered him on the phone that he could continue to bark. At this time, the doors opened and the girl came out of the shower. She asked if everything was in order in the hospital. The main character in a calm voice told the girl that everything is fine. He tried to say emotions. Chen remembered that he was married to a girl for 3 years. He still could not go to her bedroom. Xue wanted to ask the guy. Xue was surprised to tell the guy that she did not know that he had medical skills. She wanted the guy to tell her who he really is. In the hospital, Zhang was very angry due to the fact that the girl refused to come. Yao told the angry boss that Xue and Chen are egoists. Han thought and realized that the guy is the only person in the world who can conduct acupuncture. The boss turned around and strictly demanded from the doctor to take him to the girl. Yao shouted joyfully that Xue herself asked for it. Suddenly, an old woman Zhang appeared on the side. She was the head of the Zhang of the city of Su. The wife looked strictly at the guy and said that she would not believe that he learned traditional Chinese medicine from a doctor in the village. Chen scaredly thought that it was not the time to reveal his real person in front of the girl. At this time, there was a knock on the door. Qi ran to her room. The main character at full speed rushed to the front door. Chen heard someone in the corridor was very dissatisfied with the fact that there was no elevator in the building. The main character opened the door and saw a bunch of people from the hospital. The doctor strictly demanded from the guy to call Shu. A girl appeared. She asked the guests displeased, "Why did they come here?" Yao shouted to the girl in evil voice that she had been harmful to the patient in the hospital today. He promised that she would answer for everything. The boss angrily shouted to the girl to cease to pretend to be innocent. Grandmother calmly said that she was the mother of the patient, who had recently underwent surgery. Shui asked the old woman, "What happened?" The old woman knocked on the head with all her might on the head and told the girl that her son was very rude. She asked for forgiveness. Frightened Zhang sat and wrapped his arms around his head. The old woman in a calm voice told the girl that she already knows that the irresponsible surgeon used the wrong medicine for her daughter. As a result, Shui saved the patient from death. The old woman thanked the girl for her great kindness. The boss nearby was very unhappy. The doctor scaredly asked the old woman, "How can she say that?" Yao said in a frightened voice that all this was the mistake of Shui. The old woman glanced angrily at the doctors and shouted that in their hospital, the paramedic had performed the work of the main surgeon. The client accused the hospital of ignoring national laws. The boss lowered her eyes and said that she apologizes for 2 family members. Now the most important thing for them was to quickly cure the patient. The boss told the girl that she prescribed her with the attending physician of the surgical department. She will have 5 times more salary. Shu thanked her grandmother with surprise. Chen in a cunning voice reminded the boss that the doctors should now apologize to the girl. The old woman turned around and demanded a man with a guy to apologize to Su. Shar shouted that he did not want to apologize, since he was the eldest. The boss angrily demanded that the doctors apologize to the girl. Shu, along with Yao, scaredly said the words of an apology. The guy and the man bowed to the girl and apologized. Shu smiled at the doctors and said that she forgives them. Next to her was a delighted protagonist. Yao was very angry. He thought that the girl deliberately humiliates him. Zhang bowed to the girl and apologized to her for rude words in the hospital. He asked her to help save his younger sister. Shui told the doctors to follow her. The girl pointed her hand to the side of an excited protagonist and said that he was her assistant. In the hospital, the father quarreled with his son. Shu viciously said that a guy and a girl would not be able to successfully perform an operation without a nurse. No one will take responsibility if something goes wrong. From the side, Zhang listened to all this. The boss strictly asked Yao, "Wasn't the guy and the girl yesterday?" The man pulled the guy to him and told him quietly that there was a hole in the wall in the ward. "You can see what a guy and a girl are doing now. If Shui does something wrong, then they will call her a medical certificate." Su stood near the patient on the couch. She scaredly asked the guy, "Why didn't he tell her before that everything was so serious?" The protagonist explained that first you need to extract poison from the girl. Only then it can be treated. Chen told the girl that if they had not even called her, then he would still have come to treat the patient. The girl looked scared at the protagonist. He gestured to her to shut up. Zhu asked the guy, "What is it?" He frightenedly turned to the side. The guy stood in a room on chairs and carefully looked through a hole in the ward. Yao carefully looked through the hole in the ward. He held the phone in his hand. Suddenly, Yao saw a small lump of paper flew to him through the hole in the wall. The main character threw a piece of paper into a hole in the wall and told the girl that the mouse made a suspicious sound. Chen picked up a large needle. He told the girl that the time had come to do business. People with great excitement watched how they took the patient on the bed from the ward. Su took the patient on a gurney. She told people in the corridor that the operation was successful. The patient should consume anti-inflammatory drugs and rest well at night. Then she will be fine. People were surprised. Someone shouted that the patient no longer has a rash and the complexion looks much better. The boss scaredly fell to his knees and told the girl that she was a real qualified doctor. He asked her forgiveness. Si answered Zhang to judge a person in the future only after he knew the whole situation. Zhang shouted to the girl that he would follow her words. Shi told Su in a dissatisfied voice that it is impossible to judge from it only by one successful operation. The boss said to the doctor with a displeased voice that Shui showed herself well today. Grandmother sternly said the doctors that if the girl was not here, then the consequences would be terrible. The main character smiled at his wife and said that he was happy to do all this. Sue was very delighted. She realized that the main character could read her thoughts. Yao fell from the table to the floor and began to call for help. He threatened to take revenge on the main character. Grandmother told the girl to go to her office. Zhui followed the boss. The main character decided that he needed to return home and prepare dinner. He thought that the mother-in-law would again yell at him. At this time, someone called him from the side. Chen told the client that she should address all questions about the patient's condition. The old woman reminded the guy that he had cured a rash on her daughter's body. Chen with suspicion looked at the client. He asked her with excitement, how did she guess? The old woman modestly bowed to the guy and asked him to help for her friend who suffered from an unusual illness. The main character was surprised to tell the client that he would come if she appoints him time. To himself, Chen thought that he was waiting for this time. Chen looked at the old woman and said that he had a condition. She promised the guy $3 million. The main character whispered quietly to the old woman so that she would keep everything secretly. He still could not lean out. The client agreed. Chen ran aside. He shouted to the old woman that he was going home as he needs to cook to eat. The client looked after the main character and thought that this guy was very interesting. He was not interested in money, and he ran home to cook food. Yu at that time left the room. He felt severe back pain. The guy slammed the door behind him and shouted displeased that his back hurts. Suddenly a man appeared on the side. He viciously and loudly called Yao. The guy scaredly raised his hands up and shouted that his back hurts. The doctor sat on the sofa. He said in an evil voice that the boss raised a salary 5 times for C. The girl became a threat to their posts. Yao lay on the couch and the nurse made him a massage of the back. He shouted angrily that he was a real heir to the Bai family. He promised to avenge the resentment. She, sitting on the couch, asked the guy, did he find the method to deal with the girl? Yao moved and began to whisper something to the doctor. He recalled that the old woman is most worried about the reputation of the hospital. The man jumped joyfully and shouted that he did not expect less from his son. Yao answered his father that he had learned this from him. At this time, the nurse on his back did a massage behind him. Yao felt a very severe back pain and shouted loudly. The nurse was frightened. The guy shouted loudly to the whole hospital that his back hurts. The nurse frightenedly asked for forgiveness from the patient. The next morning, the main character sat at the table with relatives. The woman handed her daughter food with sticks. The woman at the table handed her daughter food. She joyfully said that Shui is very capable, like the attending physician. The girl said in a modest voice that all this is the merit of the protagonist, not her. Chen at this time consumed food with sticks. The hostess looked at the guy displeasedly and said that he would continue to sit on their family's neck. She called him hopeless. The woman went to the door. She strictly demanded that the guy wash the floors in the house, as guests would come to them in the evening. Chen told the woman that he understood everything. He collected dishes on the table. The man on the stairs asked who would come to visit them. The wife said that Den and Jun, who was a classmate of their daughter, will come to them. The guy's family has 3 houses and 5 cars. The man got angry. He reminded your wife that their daughter has been married for 3 years. The woman viciously said that their daughter could divorce. She wanted to arrange her daughters and Denu meeting tonight. The husband was very angry. He shouted to his wife that she was saying some kind of nonsense. The main character was cleaning in the apartment. At this time, there was a knock on the door. Chen opened the door and saw Zhang there. He asked the guest, "Does the old lady really want him to come now?" The guest was surprised. He could not believe that the main character could be a highly qualified doctor. Chen explained to his partner that he needed to drop the floor now. The main character, along with his companion, came to the road area. Chen said that people in this place are either rich or noble. Zhang went to the gate and pressed the call. He warned the protagonist that a person inside the mansion is an important person. The door opened and a rich developer named Shangming Li went out. He asked the guest, why did he come here? Zhang smiled at the owner and said that his mother was worried about the illness of the elder uncle. He brought a highly qualified doctor to him. Chen held out his hand to the man. Xiang looked at the protagonist displeasedly and said that he was a loafer of the Bai family. Shang asked the guest displeasedly, is he really joking? Zhang explained to the owner that the guy is not as useless as they say about him. The guest said that the protagonist cured his sister. Chen can go inside the mansion and try to cure his uncle. The house said that he had already invited a highly qualified Dr. Du. The protagonist looked at the owner and said that he had been tormented by headaches and pain in the temples recently. He also spoke about Cyan's symptoms about his insomnia. The owner was surprised. He shouted to the main character that he had very good medical abilities. Xiang apologized to the main character and said that he was a knowledgeable doctor, and he was rude with him. Chen answered with the excitement of the owner that he only knows a little. A stranger came up from the side. He told Cyan that everyone could diagnose his illness. He needs to be careful not to be deceived. Dr. Du Kio appeared with a little assistant. Xiang greeted him joyfully. The main character bowed to the healer and very politely greeted him. Du told the owner in a strict voice that many scammers divorced around and he should not come across the tricks of such people. Zhang got angry and began to threaten the doctor. The owner tried to calm the guy and said that he would not be angry. He explained that today, their main task is to cure the disease. Du passed by the protagonist and said cunningly that he would cure the patient today and expose the deceiver. Zhang looked after the departing doctor. He viciously said that he wants to beat him. The boss asked that the main character surpassed an arrogant doctor. The main character said thoughtfully that Chinese medicine at the current moments of decline, but Tan probably had any abilities. The boss was very unhappy. He decided that the main character was trying to leave a little favor. Chen stood his back and told Zhang what to think. First of all, about the patient's health. A patient named Xiang Kaitrao appeared on the steps. He was surprised to greet the protagonist. Zhang came up and told the man that his mother invited a highly qualified doctor for him. Shan showed his hand to his father, to Dr. Du. He had to cure a man's disease. Du stood behind the protagonist. He said that this knowledgeable doctor can diagnose the first. The protagonist, without turning around, told the doctor that he would watch him from the side to adopt experience. Xiang pulled his sleeve on his clothes. He had deep traces on his hand. Xiang said that he had already lost hope of recovering from illness. Xian showed his hand to others. He said that the green rash spread through his body. On rainy days, this rash begins to grow and his whole body begins to hurt a lot. Du looked at the patient and said that he was very heavy in it. A man suffers from a fungal infection. The doctor demanded from an assistant named Zay to give him a needle. The girl quickly opened the box. The assistant opened a large scroll and there were many different needles on it. Du took out a silver needle and prepared to stick it in the head of a man. This should help get rid of Shi. The doctor told the man to drink the broth in the evening and in the morning, and in a month he would completely recover. Xiang thanked the doctor. The main character looked carefully in front of him. He realized that a man has no problems with the lids. He had poisoning. The patient was sitting in a chair. He told the doctor that he feels better after his procedure. Du stuck the needles in the patient's head and said that if he had found him before, he would not suffer from scammers. Chen was displeasedly surprised due to the fact that Du used cauterization and cold removal by 3 needles. The owner turned around and demanded that the main character does not interfere with Dr. Du. The doctor smiled for the protagonist and said that he has experience unlike ordinary charlatans. He added that the patient began to disappear. Xing looked joyfully at his father's hands. He shouted that the rash had disappeared and the doctor is highly qualified. Du told the patient to go to a quiet place to restore health for a couple of days. Chen sat on the couch. He told the doctor that he could not correctly apply his knowledge. Xiang told the main character that he lives at the expense of a woman. He did not like that the guy mocked Dr. Du. Zhang grabbed the protagonist from behind and demanded that he would not disgrace and quickly leave him. Chen calmly answered people that they would see which of them a deceiver 15 minutes later. He was wondering if Dr. Du had to wait. The doctor laughed merrily. He told the main character that he had nothing to fear. Du sternly told the main character so that he would bow to his feet 3 times if the patient will be whole and healthy in 15 minutes. The main character sat in a chair. He asked the doctor what would happen if he himself cures the disease and his skills will not reach the standards. Du promised the guy that in this case he recognized him as his teacher. The main character looked at the doctor and said that they had agreed. Zhang pulled the guy's hand to raise him to his feet. Zhang looked in surprise at Chan. He did not understand why he could not raise him from his place. The boss looked in surprise at the protagonist. He did not understand who this guy is. The clock was ticking on the wall. The owner shouted to everyone that time was almost going out. Xiang put his hand on his father's shoulder and asked how he feels. The man answered the guy that he feels good and nothing hurts him. The doctor swung and threw a pillow in front of the main character so that he could bow to him. Chen in a thoughtful voice said that everything will happen soon. Zhang angrily demanded that the guy bow out as soon as possible. The main character knocked on the window and told his companion to listen. On the street, the sky darkened. There was a lightning blow in the dark sky. A thunder was heard everywhere. Xiang felt that his condition began to deteriorate. There was severe pain in his body. Dark spots appeared on the patient's body again. The son was afraid of his father. The man began to lose consciousness. The guy scaredly asked the doctor what happened to his father. Du was genuinely surprised. He shouted that the aggravation happened in rainy weather. He did not understand how all this could be a disease. Chen in a strict voice told everyone those present that this is not a disease, but poisoning. Xiang held a man on the couch. He turned around and asked the protagonist, "How could poisoning be possible?" Chen looked at the patient's body with bright spots. He said that the poison had already reached the heart. It would be very difficult to cure a man in 10 days even for him. Chen took a small needle. He asked people to support the patient, and he wanted to make MG acupuncture. Several people extended their hands from different sides and stuck the needles into the patient's body. Du was very surprised. He asked displeasedly, "What kind of delusional technique is this?" Chen turned around and was surprised due to the fact that the doctor did not hear about such a technique. Zhang turned around and asked the doctor to be silent. He should not interfere with the main character. Chen stuck the needles in the patient's head. He needed to use internal power to get rid of the poison. He has not used it for 3 years. The main character looked carefully in front of him and thought that he could still cope with this. Shang opened his eyes and began to come to his senses. The guy shouted joyfully that his father woke up. The son scaredly asked his father how he feels. Shang asked displeasedly what just happened to him. The doctor, along with his assistant, quietly headed for the exit. Chen turned around and asked the doctor, "Where did he get together?" Du Fright explained to the main character that he needed to leave now. Zhang grabbed the doctor with his hand and demanded that he recognize the protagonist as his teacher. Dig, in a dissatisfied voice, said that if he recognizes the guy as a teacher now, then a green rash could return again. Shang turned around and asked the protagonist, did he completely cure the disease? Chen explained that they had not yet completely got rid of the disease. Zhang asked scaredly, "Is there really no way to help the patient?" Du viciously shouted that the guy had no skills, but he wanted to force him to admit defeat. The protagonist demanded that the man take off his hand bracelet and let him look at him. The patient looked at the bracelet and said that it was a gift for his birthday from his daughter. The main character carefully examined the decoration on the hand of a man. He asked to bring a bowl with a flame on wood coal. Du from the side asked for fun that the main character would recognize the defeat and did not waste time. Chen carefully examined the black stone in the bracelet. He thought that the source of poison was in him. The guy brought a burning dish. He said that the bowl with a flame on wood coal is ready. The main character showed the owner his hand to the side and demanded that he put the bowl on the floor. Chen held out his needle and carefully touched it with a stone on a bracelet. The main character held a bracelet in his hands and carefully examined him. The doctor on the side asked displeasedly what the meaning of all this is generally. Du strictly pointed to the side with his finger and said that the main character is specifically inventing all this. Chen wanted to break a valuable cultural artifact. People looked closely and noticed a huge and evil worm on the decoration. The main character calmly said that in tombs, the ancient artifacts protected with the help of a potent poison of worms. As a result, thieves abducted poisoned things from tombs. Xiang looked in front of him scared and repeated the words about the poison of worms. The patient bowed to the main character and thanked him for the salvation. Xiang told the guy to forgive him. Zhang grabbed the doctor's hand and demanded an apology from him. Du frightedly said that he recognized the defeat and recognizes the protagonist as a teacher. Chen said in a surprised voice that all this was a joke. He could not force the elder to bow to him and recognize as a teacher. The doctor and his assistant quickly ran to the exit. Zhang looked after the doctor and thought that he was running very quickly. Xiang ordered his son to arrange a banquet in honor of the protagonist. The guy replied that he would suit everything. The main character with suspicion asked a man if his daughter has similar symptoms. The man was scared. He asked if his daughter could also be poisoned by bead. Xiang said that his younger sister did not return after his father's birthday. On the phone, she did not say that she was sick. Chen bowed to the man and said that he would contact him if something happens. He added that there was no need for a banquet and said goodbye. The father reminded his son to go and bring money. Chen remembered that he did not even hint about payment. The main character in a calm voice told the man to pay for the registration fee in the volume of $30. Struck by Zhang stood next to him. The man and his son were very amazed due to the fact that they heard how much money the guy demanded. The main character, along with the bags, climbed the stairs. He thought that his mother-in-law should not find out that he refused $3 million. Chen stood near the doors to the apartment and heard a conversation inside. He remembered the guests. The main character stood near the door and listened carefully. The woman told her guest that there was no one around and he should not be shy. Chen thought displeasedly to himself that there was a mother-in-law and an unknown man inside the apartment. Inside the apartment was a guy den. The woman told him that he became even more beautiful after many years. The guest asked the hostess if the girl was still returning. The hostess promised the guest that her daughter would come soon. She asked the guy, "What is his income and how many houses?" Den answered the woman that his incomes was fine, and recently he bought another house for himself. The hostess asked the guest displeasure, "Why did he get so early?" She warned him not to come in the afternoon. Chen opened the door to the room. He decided to bring the products and leave after he leaves them in the refrigerator. Den returned and greeted the protagonist. He said that he is the husband of Shui. Mother joyfully said that her daughter could still divorce. Den looked at the protagonist and asked displeasedly why the charming girl married him. Den looked angrily at the protagonist and asked if he had any specialty or work. The woman grabbed the phone. She said that she would call her daughter to clarify everything today. Den strictly told the main character that the girl was with him only because he went to study abroad 3 years ago. He wanted to get it back. Suddenly, the hostess screamed loudly that the girl was in some kind of incident. Near the hospital building, there was a large crowd. A blue car stopped nearby. The woman and the guy got out of the car. She told him that expensive cars are fast and comfortable. Den answered the hostess that she could go on the main character's moped and stand at some intersection for a long time. Den, along with the woman, watched a guy on a scooter walk past them. Near the crowd, there was a patient with a phone. She said that she came to the hospital with a serious illness, but she was refused help. Shui explained to the girl that she has a leather disease and she could not cure her. The client reminded the doctor that she had cured a rash in the patient Zhang Li before. She threatened to cover the hospital. People around were discussing Su. The guy told his father that he specially invited a girl who has a lot of subscribers. Xiang will raise a noise and a scandal on the internet here. As a result, the grandmother will fire Shui. She praised the guy for his plan. The client rushed to the girl and demanded that she showed a little sympathy for her. Shu demanded from the girl to behave decently. Suddenly, the patient grabbed the doctor by the clothes and shouted that Shui had no right to wear the skin. The client suddenly felt the pain in her hand. She scaredly pulled her hand back and asked what she was pricked. The client looked at her hand in dismay. Shui threatened the girl that she would call the police now. The client was surprised to notice how a small needle stuck in her hand. The girl angrily asked who attacked her with a needle. People in the crowd were in surprise among themselves. The patient viciously rushed at the girl. She accused Shu that she poked her with a needle. The patient took out a small needle and threatened the doctor that her father would close the hospital. The audience watched all this in a direct broadcast. The main character stood in the crowd. He launched another needle into the girl. The guy was surprised due to the fact that her daughter Cyan behaved like that. The patient looked scaredly at her hand and noticed that another needle had gone into it. The client viciously turned into the crowd and demanded that the stranger leave. Shui was delighted when she saw her brother nearby. She shouted to him that she could now be calm. Den came the side. He told the girl in a shy voice that she recognized him after many years at first sight. The guy told the girl that he finally returned. Shui was surprised to think that Den had changed a lot in all this time. Suddenly, the client on the side swung a tripod and hit the surprised guy on the head. The client began to beat the guy with his feet. She shouted to him that he had thrown needles into her. Den jumped to his feet and shouted to the girl that he was the deputy director of the city hospital. No one but him could cure her illness. Su from the side asked the guy, how would he cure the girl if he himself is a surgeon? An angry client stood on the side. The patient swung and hit the guy with his hand on the face. She shouted that if he could not cure a skin disease, then he must close the hospital. A man appeared with a guy from the side. The doctor told the girl that because of her, the hospital could be closed. Yao promised the client that they would find for her to solve her problem. The client showed displeasedly with her hand to the side and said that she wanted to be fired. She also wanted compensation for moral damage. The boss displeasedly told the client that she was ready for anything in order to maintain the reputation of the hospital. The main character came up and in a stern voice told the patient that he could cure her. Yao was very angry. He shouted to the guy that he was a loafer, and for some reason it turned out to be nearby. Chen told the client that she fell ill about 6 months ago. She gets worse during rainy weather. The patient was surprised to tell the guy that he was right. She asked the protagonist if he could cure her. Yao went on the side and told the girl that the main character is a loafer who lives at the expense of his wife. He invited her to go inside to the conference room. The client turned into displeasure and shouted to the guy to shut up. The client viciously told the main character that she tried to be treated by many famous doctors, but to no avail. She asked if the guy could heal her. The patient with a prayer looked at the protagonist and asked if he could really help her. The client went to the guy and promised that she would do everything for him if he helps her get rid of the illness. The patient offered the guy money if he helps her. Chen explained to the girl that her illness is simple, but he has a special condition. The main character strictly demanded from the client to apologize to his wife. The patient got angry. She did not want to apologize and promised that she would close the hospital. The main character told the girl that she had very dangerous skin diseases. If you delay, then no one will help her later. The patient threatened with Chen that the Bai family will come to an end. People around him looked displeased at the protagonist and his wife. Someone asked Shui, why did she go for such a pest? Someone demanded that a person who fails is expelled. The woman viciously told the beaten guy that because of him, they would be left without a penny in his pocket. Den angrily thought that the main character decided to destroy them all. The wife scaredly called a guy by name. Chen explained to her that he could really cure the patient. At this time, a man appeared on the side. He sawed people and wanted to go forward. The main captain of law enforcement agencies by drugs named Xiang Tai asked strictly in people that for charlatan deceiving them here. He threatened to pick up a work permit from the hospital. The patient displeasedly pointed out the man aside with his hand to the protagonist and accused him that he and his wife wanted to deceive her. Tai carefully looked at the sad girl and thought that she was straight in his taste. The man looked at the girl and demanded that she go with him and provide assistance in the investigation. He accused her of incorrect medical activity. Suddenly, on the side, the main character held out his hand and grabbed the man's hand. Chen held the hand of an angry man and strictly asked him why the Administration for Medicines decided to arrest people. Xian appeared from the side. He asked his sister displeasedly why she raises noise on the street. The girl scaredly asked someone to help her. The patient angrily threatened the guy with a girl, which is now over for them. She promised that her brother would call the police and they would all be arrested. Tai looked at the senior cousin and said that he himself could put everyone in place. Xiang came up and bowed to the main character. He said that his relatives were wrong and promised to compensate for all the damage to the hospital. The patient and the man were very surprised when they saw that Xiang bowed to the guy. There was a surprised crowd behind. The doctor and a young guy were very surprised. Nearby stood an amazed boss. The main character in a calm voice said that Boss Xiang is a sane person. The patient asked her older brother displeasedly, why does he talk so politely with a loafer? Xiang sharply swung his hand and hit the girl very much on the face. The girl was very scared. She told her brother with tears in her eyes that he dared to hit her. Xiang accused his sister that the bracelet she gave her father almost killed a man. The girl scaredly asked her brother, did their father also die? Xiang demanded her sister to apologize to the main character. He explained that her life now depends on the mood of Dr. Chen. The main character viciously said that he has no desire to help the girl. Tai was very angry with the protagonist and swung to hit him. Xiang swung with all his might and his hand and hit the surprised man on the face. Xiang told the man displeasedly that he could not take away medical licenses when he wants. First, you need to conduct an investigation and collect evidence. Tai frightenedly asked the guy forgiveness. Xiang, with all his might, hit the man from behind his foot and demanded that he apologize to the guy with the girl. Taiza Neil asked for forgiveness from the protagonist and his wife. He promised that he would never disturb their family hospital again. Zhu told the man that he would try to be honest and fair in the future. Chen told Tay that his wife forgave him, and he himself had nothing more to say. The patient fell to her knees. She wanted to turn to the main character. The client told her niece that she suffers from a green rash. She said that she came here to the hospital only after the words of Yao. The boss angrily turned around and shouted strictly to the guy to get out of the hospital and never return again. The man hit the guy's foot behind and demanded that he apologize to Sue. The man, along with his son, fell to his knees and asked for forgiveness to the main character. She asked the guy to show condescending to him this time. Chen told the doctors in a cunning voice that he was almost arrested. The usual apology would not be enough. The main character looked angrily at the doctors and said that his wife was almost arrested. He demanded that she with his son obey his wife for a month and do everything that she would say. Yao, along with Shai, got very angry. The main character viciously demanded that they agree or leave. The man and his son fell to his knees and said that they would do everything. Chen told the doctors that all those present people around could confirm this. He hopes that doctors will not behave recklessly. The boss said in a strict voice that Yao was reduced to the interns. It will be internshipped in the office. C will determine his future fate. Yao was very dissatisfied with such a decision. The man shouted to him so that the guy shut up. The patient joyfully looked at the protagonist and asked if he could now cure her illness. Chen thoughtfully answered the client that he could not make a decision right now. The girl asked the guy to save her. She didn't want to die. Sue looked at her husband and asked him to help the crying patient. The main character told the client to follow him. He will help her get rid of the poison. Chen demanded from the doctors at the entrance so that they did not interfere with his feat. The boss told people in the crowd to leave. Shu showed his finger to the side and shouted so that everyone would disperse. The beaten Den congratulated the girl. He said that he could treat her with dinner in the evening with his mother. The woman nearby was very happy. The girl said that she agrees to celebrate only with the main character. Without a Chen, today's problem would not be solved. Den said in a cunning voice to the girl that her husband could not compare with him. The wife went to her husband and asked if he was fine. Chen explained that the patient fainted with fright. There was a surprised Den behind. The wife sternly told her husband that he would not deceive her anymore about traditional Chinese medicine. Den showed his hand to his car and told the girl that he could take it. Xu turned around and told a friend that she would go by car of the protagonist. Den showed aside and told the girl that she could only leave on the old scooter. Mother sternly told her daughter that she wants to leave on an old scooter instead of a good car. Den took out the keys from his pocket. He told the woman that his car costs $400,000. Xu told her husband that all this is very disgusting. At this time, someone called the protagonist on the side. Xiang bowed to the main character and said that they want to give him a battered car for $8 million. Den was very amazed when he realized that Chen would become the owner of an expensive car. The main character was driving in an expensive car with a girl. Xue joyfully reminded him of the expression on Den's face at that moment. Chen told his girlfriend that he did not have the opportunity to reject the gift. The wife reminded her husband that he saved 2 members of the Xiang family. They had to thank him. The woman said in a dissatisfied voice that the guy is still very mean. The woman photographed herself on the rear chair of the car and said that Xiang could better give a luxurious villa than a car. Chen sat with his eyes closed in a meditative pose. Pieces of fire flew in front of them. The main character was completely focused. The pillars of fire near him stopped brighter. Chen thought to himself that he showed his skills to everyone today. The news will spread quickly, so he can get the first circle. The main thing abruptly fell to the floor and leaned with both hands. He was very tired. Chen looked with interest at the phone. He told himself that he could spend 35 seconds in the air. The main character was surprised to notice how the door opened on the side. Chui told the guy that inside the living room is very stuffy. She told him to go to her room to sleep. Chen, with great excitement, said that the living room was really very hot. The main character opened the door and went into the room. He held the pillow in his hands and told the girl that he had finished washing. Like Sui lay on his side on the bed. She told the guy to go to the bed as soon as possible. Chen felt a very strong excitement. He looked at the girl silently. The main character walked slowly and shouted to his wife that he was going. Chen leaned with his own hands on the bed. He slowly advanced to the girl. The main character thought that he was finally in bed with a girl. He hoped that he would finish with everything at night. Chen put his hand to the girl and told her mentally that she was waiting for him. The girl was lying on the bed. She told the guy to turn off the light and go to bed. They had a job tomorrow. Chen is very unhappy and was disappointed to himself that he would need to sleep on the floor. The main character closed his eyes and lay on the pillow on the floor. He told himself that he should be strong. Sui looked thoughtfully at the guy and thought that she was not ready yet. The next morning, the protagonist and the girl were sitting at the table. Mother was unhappy with them that they were together. Shui explained to the woman that she and Chen were not in the same bed. The man moved and quietly told the main character that he was waiting for his grandson. Chen scaredly answered the owner that he would try. The main character was driving with a girl on a scooter. Chen told his wife that he still did not want to ride a car. The main character slyly told his companion that a motorcycle is much better for him. She sat behind him. The girl stood near the entrance to the building. She told the guy to go inside and relax. Chen replied to her that he would make a call and then go. Zhu went through the door to the building. The main character asked his partner, why did he call him? The partner viciously shouted to the main character that he was behaving sharply only because he was covering the law. The main character on the phone immediately demanded from his partner to lay out everything that he has. The guy answered the doctor that he understood everything and all other men are bad except him. A guy with red hair said with admiration for his partner that the 3 million he gave him turned 100 million. The partner in displeasure demanded praise from Chen. He was dissatisfied with this attitude. The guy told the main character that he sent the guys for him with money. He can spend them as he wants. Chen replied that he knows everything and hangs the phone. The owner strictly ordered the maid so that she cleaned everything well. Otherwise, he will punish her. The maid answered the master that she would do everything. Chen thought and decided that Lu Yuan was selling drugs. If he earned a lot of money in 3 years, Lu could buy even several maids. The main character went to the hospital. The displeased patient threw flowers from the ward and shouted that she did not need them. A nurse entered the ward. She told the girl that Den invited her to the Han building to participate in the Association of Graduates. Xue angrily replied that she would not go. The main character came up from the side and pulled out the document from the hands of the nurse. He wanted to look. The guy read an invitation on a piece of paper. Shui, along with the main character, were invited to a college of doctors for dinner. Den wrote that Chen could see part of the new world. The main character repeated the words about part of the new world. He decided that Den provokes him. Shui told her husband that they would definitely not go. Chen squeezed a piece of paper with his hand. He told the girl that they now have no point in running from this. The main character, along with his companion, approached the luxurious building. A large house shone in the lights. Chen said with admiration that the most luxurious hotel in the city is very large. Shu was in an evening outfit. She told the main character that they would mock him, but he still came here with her. She asked her husband, what did he plan? Chen shoved the girl in the back with his hands. He said that at the banquet they should look appropriate. The man at the table told Denu that in the graduation class he was a man with a bright future. The girl turned and told the guy that he returned to the expert from abroad at a young age. The man asked the guest at the table to take care of his alcohol and tobacco business. Den held the phone in his hands. He answered a friend that he would do everything easily. The main character came with his wife. He waved his hand and asked all forgiveness for being late. Den pushed back his chair and offered the main character to sit down. Chen sat on a chair. He thanked his friend for politeness. The main character told his wife that they were late and therefore they could not sit together. The girl smiled slyly and laughed. The neighbor at the table on the side looked at her with interest. The man moved and told the guy that their school beauty went out for an insignificant guy. Den viciously turned and looked at the protagonist and thought that he would deal with him today. People looked at food at the table with admiration. Someone shouted that the guy justifies his reputation. The dishes were luxurious and could cost a lot of money. The man in a joyful voice told the guests that their director Den received places in a restaurant in just 3 days. The waiter came up and poured wine into the glass. He said that their director Den is incredible. The man viciously told the girl that the guy was chasing her at school until she accepted him. He added that Shui can now look at his friend again, and he is very sorry. The guest at the table told the girl that her husband was just sitting for 3 years at home without work. Zhu, with excitement, answered the guests at the table that Chen was studying at home, and she should not force him to work. One of the guys at the table shouted to the girl that her husband could not find a job. The guest with red hair cunningly said that they needed a janitor, and it is suitable for her husband Shui. Den angrily told the main character that he would not eat anything at the table. Chen could not afford even a glass of water. The girl viciously jumped up and hit her hand on the table. She asked why Den decided to put pressure on her husband in this way. The man at the table told the girl that Den was doing all this for her. Den held a glass in his hands. He told Shui that Chechen was not worthy of her. The main character asked the guests at the table, why did they decide that he could not afford it? The girl approached the main character on the side and put her hand on her shoulder. She invited him to go home. There were expensive dishes in this restaurant. A plate of greenery cost several $100s. Chen laid his hand on the girl's shoulder and said she would sit down and wait. Shui told him with excitement that he did not need to force himself. The main character poured his wine into a glass. Den joyfully called the waiter and demanded an account. The waitress brought an account on a tray in the amount of almost $40,000. She asked how to pay with a card or cash. Den pointed his hand to the protagonist and said that the waitress would give him an account. The woman looked at the guy and asked if he had money to pay for an account. She saw that the client was very cheap clothes. Chen put his hand in his pocket and told people around that he would pay in cash. People at the table were very surprised. They decided that the main character is rich, but pretends to be poor. Den thought scared to himself that the guy sold a luxurious car and received money. The protagonist took the money from his pocket and gasped to himself with displeasure. Chen held a small bill in his hands. People next to him got angry due to the fact that he pretended. The main character told the waitress that soon his people will bring the right amount here. Den took out a green credit card. He said that he would pay for everything. Guests at the table shouted displeasedly to the girl that she would now see her husband's true nature. There was a knock on the door. A man with 2 girls came in. He asked if a meeting of graduates of a secondary school from the 18th grade takes place here. Den jumped to his feet and greeted the director of VA. He held out his hand and scaredly asked the man how he ended up here. The girls at the table hit glasses. They joyfully said that the boss of the building had come. The man shook his hand and asked who he was. Den explained that he is the vice president of the city hospital. There said a surprised guy that he came here to find someone. The guest asked people at the table, which of them is Chen? The main character raised his hand. There he held out his hand to the guy and joyfully said that he wanted to meet him. A very surprised Den stood behind. There he bowed and shook his hand to the main character. He asked if the guy was satisfied with dishes. Chen explained that everything was very good, but the cabbage was not very good. One told the main character that he would fire the cook and prepare everything that is needed for Chen. The main character said that now there is a dinner of den, and the most important are the tastes of the guests. People at the table were amazed. At this time, the waitress ran on the side and shouted in the boss in a frightened voice that there was bad news. The girl frightenedly said that in the lobby, some child was lost consciousness due to poisoning. Den was frightened when he heard about poisoning because of food in a restaurant. There answered the guy that poisoning could not be because of food. Xu jumped to her feet and shouted that she had to urgently provide medical care. The waitress explained that the ambulance was called, but the car is in traffic. The man pointed to Den and said that he is a vice president of the Metropolitan Hospital. There was delighted. The guy was scared. He thought that he could not serve anyone for free. If he does not cope, then he can be threatened. The main character, together with his wife, went to the hall. They wanted to save the child. Den shouted fearfully to wait for him. He could not allow the main character to lose. In the lobby, the woman held a little girl in her arms. A frightened man stood nearby. Someone was unhappy due to the fact that the ambulance did not come. Ju ran into the hall and shouted to be missed. She went to a little girl. Sue put her hand to the girl's head. She asked her mother, "How long did it all last?" The woman said that her daughter was sharply sick and she lost consciousness. Customers around stood and displeasedly discussed the private hospital of the Bai family. Den went to the woman and said that he would try to cope with this. He said that he is the vice president of the city hospital. Mother joyfully carried her daughter in her hands to the doctor. She called him the savior. Den told the woman to put the child on the floor. He needed to assess the state of the girl. Chen asked his wife if a little girl had a heat. Shui replied that the child had heat and chills. The main character thoughtfully thought. He could not understand what kind of illness the little girl has. Den said in a thoughtful voice that the children's stomach is weak and the girl ate something wrong. Chen said calmly that the girl had an acute infectious disease. "People around are angry," the man shouted to the guy so that he would not behave as if he knew everything. Den pointed to the protagonist with his hand and demanded that he fall off. The man grabbed the guy by the clothes and shouted that his daughter was in order. Chen asked his father to pull himself together. He said that he has evidence. Den asked the waitress to give him a bucket of ice. He indicated that the ice was laid on the girl's head and the heat would fall. The waitress turned and looked at the protagonist. Chen shouted that you could not use ice against the child. This will kill the girl. Den angrily asked the girl if the child needs to reduce the temperature physically if she is high. Sue was excited and did not know what to answer. The man turned around and told the main character so that he would not blame him if he would be rude with him. Den put the ice to the head of a small patient. He told the woman that she could then come to the hospital and give a banner. The girl lay unconscious. Suddenly, her face was very, very blue. Mother scaredly asked the guy why her daughter's lips became purple. Den scaredly answered the woman that he certainly does not know. Perhaps it was a fever. The main character ran up to the girl from the side. He hit the guy with his hand. Chen raised 2 fingers up. Den thought to himself that if the girl dies, then he would take this opportunity against the protagonist. The main character took out a needle. He told his mother to give her daughter to lie down. Chen with all his might swung and prepared to stick a needle into the girl's body. The protagonist saw that the girl of the ice chopped the cold inside her body. The woman asked the guy if he was a doctor. Chen held a needle in his hands. He prepared to stick her into the girl's body. Den carefully followed the main character. He thought that Chen put a luminous liquid onto the needle. The girl opened her eyes and told her mother that she wants to drink. People around were very happy due to the fact that the child woke up. Mother grabbed her daughter in her arms. The man from the side brought the chief hero of the water in a glass. Chen said with excitement that the girl had improved the condition. They now need to wait for the ambulance. The man fell to his knees in front of the main character and thanked him. The girl went to the guy from the side and handed him a piece of white fabric. Xiao handed out a piece of fabric to the main character and said that he worked very hard. The protagonist felt heated. He answered the girl that he did not work at all. Den looked angrily at the protagonist and said that all this was just an accident. The doors opened and the doctors ran up. The man shouted to give way to him. The woman brought the girl to the doctor and asked what happened to her child. The medic looked at the little girl and said that she had an infectious disease. He demanded that all guests go to the hospital for an inspection today. People were scared when they heard about the virus. A huge crowd of people stood in the city hospital of the city of SU. The doctor shouted to people to all go through the test in order. The results will be informed after the call. The girl asked the guy, "Is he friends with Boss Wan?" Chen replied that he met this man in the evening. Shui asked her partner, "Why did the boss treat him so respectfully?" The main character answered the girl that all this is a very long story. He remembered the conversation of the girl and the guy, whether Van had previously lent $3 million. After that, he pressed the man to show respect for the main character. Chen stood and talked with his girlfriend. A crowd of people stood next to him. The man angrily clenched his fist and shouted that the main character is a loafer and cannot understand medicine. Den spat aside and calmly replied that tonight Chen showed the show with the statists. The nurse angrily told the client that it is impossible to spit in the hospital. The nurse continued to shout something to Denya. Shui looked displeased aside the guy and said that the doctor did not even know such a simple rule. A man in a dressing gown ran from the side in the room. The girl called him a teacher. "Ha." The girl ran up scaredly and asked the teacher, "Ha, why did he come here?" The man asked Shui, "Is she really an object of verification too?" The girl with excitement told the man that she and her husband were eaten in the Han Yue building. It was Chen who saved the sick child. Ha angrily told the girl that she would not discard medicine. He recalled that he had been studying for the past 3 years with him. Den ran up from the side. He shouted to the man that he was still passionate. Who told the girl what would be fine if she met with Kazun? The man sternly asked the guy, "Why does he look like that?" Den explained to the teacher that he had done some operation. The main character asked the guy, "How did he get infected with a sexually transmitted disease?" People in the crowd were surprised when they heard about a sexually transmitted disease at Den. The guy angrily asked the protagonist, "How did he learn about it?" Hao pointed his hand to the girl and viciously asked why she protects the main character. An expert of a surgical department named Jan Sando entered the room. He strictly asked who saved the young patient. Den scaredly indicated that the main character treated a little girl with needles. The guy thought to himself that the little girl was dead. Chen told the doctor that he was with a little patient. He is ready to take responsibility? Yang viciously told the chief hero that he used needles without examination and testing. Den asked the doctor, "Really something happened to a small child?" He said that he was in a restaurant and did not stop the protagonist on time. The main character told the doctor the details of the girl's extraction. She had symptoms that were caused by the factor of cold. He absolutely did not use the wrong needles. Den pointed his finger to the side, shouted that Western medicine was a real science. He accused Chinese medicine of being feudal and superstitious. Jan sternly looked at the guy and asked, "Who said that Chinese medicine is feudal and superstitious?" Den scaredly talked about commercials about Chinese medicine on TV. Ian asked the guy displeasedly, "Can ancient Chinese medicine be misleading?" The guy turned around in line and asked Den with a displeased voice, did he really want to quarrel with the main character? Another person in line said the words of an ambulance who confirmed that the girl had an infectious disease. Den was very unhappy. He looked on the side as the main character shook his hand to the doctor. Jan thanked Chin for helping the girl in time. Den was very unpleasantly surprised when he realized that the patient was cured and her condition did not deteriorate. Jan turned around and strictly asked Den, was he really hoping that the patient's condition would deteriorate? Den said in a frightened voice that he wanted everyone to be healthy. Just Jan had a very serious expression on his face. Jan looked at the guy and said that he would be attentive to his personal life. He added that dark spots on his face cannot be hidden with powder. Den was very scared when he heard such words. People around began to scream the guy that he was really sick. Den ran out of the room and shouted that he still has a job. Jan said in a dissatisfied voice after the guy to make himself a test for the virus. The man held out his hand to the main character and said that they wanted to interview a reporter. Chen told the man that saving people is the duty of a doctor. This is not necessary to advertise. Jan, with excitement, reminded the guy that many doctors want to get into the media, but they have no chance. Chen answered the man that he did not care. The nurse ran up to the side. She shouted to the director Jan that the director was looking for him. In parting, Jan promised the main character that he would have great achievements. Chen held the phone in his hands. He told the girl to stand in line. He wanted to call. Huo looked aside at the guy and said that Chen could study Chinese medicine. That would be better than he would sit at home. Zhuge with excitement told the surprised man that the protrusion of the protagonist is much greater than they see. To herself, the girl could not understand how many secrets the guy hid in himself. Zhang was driving behind the wheel. The main character called him and asked him to give his message to the director. The man was very scared when he heard a message about the disease of the plague. Den said in a frightened voice to the man that Dr. Chen told such information to them. While they discovered only one patient, they need to quickly mobilize all the city's medical resources for the treatment of patients. The main character returned to his home in the evening. The hostess shouted to the guy that he was late and wants her to die with starvation. The girl went into the room and told her mother that she wants to cook. She recalled that they were at a meeting of graduates. The woman told her daughter that the meeting of graduates is a useless occupation. Zhu strictly reminded her mother that the guy gave her a luxurious car. Chen stood and held in his hands a bag of food. He thought to himself that John Sando did not realize all the seriousness of the issue. The guy hoped that Xiang Haichao would act smarter. The woman shouted to the guy to give her a whole house better if he could. The next day, a joint meeting of the presidents of various hospitals took place. The man at the table told those present that they want to declare something important to them. The chairman told partners that after night analysis, the Noah virus was detected in patients. 9 people from relatives and other close contacts were infected. The doctors were sitting at the table and listening carefully. The man said that the family returned from a trip to Hangzhou. In this city, an investigation is being conducted. We can conclude that the situation there will not be optimistic. The man demanded that the doctors take precautions and prevent the spread of the epidemic. At the table was a master of acupuncture named Li. The man said that they were looking for a special person who would invite Mr. Li to stay in the city to just see if they could unite traditional Chinese and Western medicine. This should help find a quick treatment method. Young doctors were delighted. They said that with Mr. Li they could be calm. The old man asked the man, how did they find the plague so quickly? The doctor explained to the old man that he was a master who had indicated it. Did he ask his partner if the master used the needle in the treatment of the first patient? The man scaredly answered the old man that he was really a master. The young man was called Chen, and he was a little over 20 years old. Li explained that taking into account acupuncture, the guy's experience is the same as Chinese masters with experience for more than 10 years. He wanted to see the main character. The man told the old man that he agreed. He asked Mr. Li to take part in the charity auction for the medical industry in a couple of days. The old man said on the go that the director of Xia knows very well how to do business. For the sake of a little friend, he agreed to take part. The man thanked the old man for joining them. The main character was at home and was cleaned. He asked his partner on the phone, what did he do? The partner viciously asked Chen, why is he talking so with his benefactor? The main character viciously told the guy on the phone that he needed to pick up his wife after he was waving the floor. The partner told the main character that he needed help to get a little multi-flower and wild ginseng. Chen displeasedly answered his partner that he could not get such high-quality drugs. The guy said that in a couple of days the medical community will conduct a charity auction. Li raised a lot of unusual means. He decided to sacrifice some medicinal materials. The main character answered with a displeased partner that he was not suitable for participation in such a chic party and cannot help. The guy scaredly shouted on the phone that if he did not receive it again, his father would kill him. Chen saw that he was a message on his phone. The partner told the guy to think how to get to the auction. He promised to send a suit. Chen read the message on the phone. The partner told him that he received several invitations from the auction and he would take him there. He promised in 3 days in the evening to call him.